So, welcome everybody to the stream of the first game of the final for the LOME World Championship 2024. The players that are going to face each other in order to win the trophy this year are Ari and Mestre James. And I will be commentating this game. My name is the lordofmiddle-earth. Unfortunately, I was expected to co-commentate this game with another guy, B. Healy, but for an inconvenience, he couldn't join us tonight. Let's hope that for the next games, he's gonna participate. So, yeah, exciting game. Let's see what's going to happen. Also, sorry if the frame for the recording, also for the streaming, is a little bit weird, but we're doing what we can also with the screen that Mestre James is sharing. So this is the best we could do with our time. So we see that our players have decided their factions that they're going to use for this first game. Mestre James starting with the 3 people. The choice was on the Mestre James side, since he was the player with the highest rating. And he decides to start with 3 people. And we see in his starting hand Winds from the West and Path of the Roses. And we have Gandalf, Keeper of Narnia, as guide of the Fellowship, as it usually happens in LOME. And we also see Pippin, Hobbit of the Shire, starting in the Shire. This is kind of a less usual approach to LOME, but very interesting. And let's see what happens. So, first of all, pretty good for the Shadow. And 3 people also kind of a pretty good roll versus only 1 eye. The question is, will Mestre move so many times? Because differently from base game, there is the problem in LOME of the alternative Witch King, the chieftain of the Ring Wraiths, which can so powerful that it can really change the direction of games in many cases. Okay, so we saw some starting military action from the Shadow, moving into Gorgoroth from both Norn and Barad-dûr. And now let's see what the first action of the 3 people player will be for this first game of the final of the LOME World Championship 2024. Yeah, players are discussing about the possibility of turn 1 Aragorn, which is definitely a possibility. I think I would be even more inclined as the 3 people player to take that route if there were more eyes in the hand pool. Given the situation, I would consider a couple of safe moves versus only 1 eye, but of course, Gandalf turn 1, having that extra dice since the beginning is very nice, so who knows. And the Shadow keeps moving his military from Gorgoroth. We see the forces being moved to both Morannon and Minas Morgul. And now I guess we will see the big decision for the three people player that is gonna change drastically the fate of this game. And we see the first movement. By the way, I didn't comment on the first card drawn by the. Oh, sorry. I will comment on that later. First movement, but Smeagol gets drawn, which is kind of fortunate given the situation. I guess maybe now the three people player will be inclined to move even more. Uh, and this sometimes is the crazy roller coaster that LOME is, because even more compared to the base game, in my opinion. Um, there are more variable factors with very variance results. Oh, second movement, a second hit. Okay, interesting. Let's see what's going to happen. And it's a free, which is perfect for Smeagol. Okay, so funny situation. So far, the three people movement have been, I mean, kind of perfect so far, despite being hit twice in a row. And as I was saying before, this is sometimes what happens in LOME, in my opinion, even more than base game. I feel like that factors like Smeagol or even the Witch King really create this kind of chaotic effect in the game, which from a narrative perspective is very funny and very entertaining. But sometimes on a more competitive side, can be a little bit strange, exciting, sometimes also frustrating, because it really feels that despite your best efforts, it's just the game that takes on a very strange route. You need to adapt as best as you can. And yes, of course, we see the third movement, which again it's a six. This is the third hit in a row for the in the first turn for the three people. Um, let's see what's gonna be. It's a one. I guess you can just take 1 point of correction there. Are we going to see the third movement, the fourth movement for the fellowship? I don't necessarily see that as necessary for the people, unless you really want to sprint, which is of course a viable option. But if you can avoid the Witch King, the chief of the chieftain of ring rates, that would also kind of be awesome. So we'll see what happens. I would almost be inclined to use that Will of the West for political actions. Um, yeah, we see the entry of Balrog in Moria, and I wonder if Ari is considering playing Saruman turn one. That could be also an interesting line. So yeah, as I was saying before, actions have been kind of fast so far, but yeah, I forgot to mention that the three people player drew into three rings for the Elven Kings, and that's also a card that can really, uh, with a big variance effect, that can drastically change the game in one direction or another. And probably also that card that kind of influenced Mestre James in taking a decision of focusing more on fellowship movement. Probably not only, I guess the only eye in the ant pool was a big factor in deciding to not crown Aragorn turn one. But I think also the card can be, like, probably has also influenced his decision in this regard. Yeah, as we see a political action from Mr. James, instead of moving a fourth time, which I don't think makes too much sense at this point, we see Gondor brought closer to war, and as predicted, we see the entry of Saruman in Orphaned. And at this point, we move into the second round of this final. And we see for Mestre James, as the three people player, the two cards for this round, which are Book of Mazarbul, one of the ends cards specifically the Huons, so with the Huon Dark combat card effect. One I allocated in the hand pool, no more eyes rolled. Sorry, the Barrel die roll. Wow, crazy! Wow, what a roll for the three people that might also consider getting Gandalf the White this turn because Saruman is already in play. So we'll see if something like that happens. Um, Kind of a good role also for the Shadow. The two Palantis may be useful in case the Chief of the Ring Wraiths might enter this turn. So let's see what happens. I think an interesting question right now is that do you want to pass as the three people player? And I guess on one side, yes. If the only reason why probably I wouldn't pass is just to avoid one with Sorrow and Toil, but having in hand wind from the west, I guess you can take you can wait as the free people player, wait for the shadow player to play that card and then discard it immediately. Okay, we see that the shadow player used one of the Palantir to draw a strategy card, which I think is always a good decision in LOME. Despite the incredible power of the single wing rates, I like an approach to the LOME format where I still push kind of aggressively on the military side. So I relate to the decision taken by Ari. Sauron brought to war. Interesting. We see the first movement of the Fellowship, and of course, it's a hit, and it's a zero reveal. And at this point, are you passing through Moria? I guess, yeah. I mean, passing through Moria, you definitely increase the chances of getting Gandalf the White, but you must be careful about your corruption as well. So I might also see a universe where Mestre James decides to go from the high pass, hide again the fellowship, and possibly move again. If you get hit a second time, then kill Gandalf and putting into play this round, avoiding. By the way, you also have the. But no, it wouldn't work in that case. Okay, well, anyway. Yeah, like I would take the high pass just in the with the possibility in my mind that with the next movement in this round, I'm going to kill Gandalf. So I must be sure to get hit with two dice on 5, which is kind of expected. I mean, it might happen. It wouldn't be that crazy. But for sure is taking a chance. Otherwise, passing through Moria right now is kind of a in that regards for killing Gandalf is a safe decision, but then at the same time you must balance out the corruption that you're taking. And we see Mestre James indeed going for the high pass, which is I think a totally relatable decision. And now, pretty much surely, we will see the entrance of the Lone Witch King on the Fellowship. Yeah, there it is. Which actually increases the chance also of getting Gandalf the White this turn. So I think, yes, the decision of going for the high pass was the correct one. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Okay, we see. Interesting. Aha, I see. I understand the approach taken by Master James. I guess that given that he has drawn into 3 rings for the Elven Ring, quite early in the game. I guess his approach is going to be to use this ring right now, immediately. I can imagine him now using one ring to hide the fellowship and then keep again the the character action die in order to move again, possibly killing Gandalf, and then put him on the map. Let's see what happens. Yeah, fellowship gets flipped, and indeed we see the use of the Elven ring for Elrond, Vilya. This is also kind of an upside of a decision for the Shadow player because that ring would allow him to play Gothmog this round because the Barrock die is gonna be gone in the next round since it's on the removal side sign and the Witch King is in play. So I would also see for the Shadow player the decision of playing um, Gothmog this round. And the Fellowship is not hit, which it's not great, but to be fair, there are also worse things. Yes, most likely you're not going to see Gandalf the White this turn, but the Fellowship has moved quite fast so far. The corruption is still very good, and you might even consider moving a third time this round. And yeah, I mean, there are worse fates for the Fellowship for sure. Considering also that the Shadow player has not played a character card on the Fellowship so far, you can really imagine that probably corruption cards are really not great yet for the Shadow player. So it's worth considering moving a third time this round for the three people. But let's see what's going to happen. I will definitely use one of those dice for the Shadow to just put into play Gothmog this round using one ring. That's for sure. Another important decision for the Shadow player is to try to take Lorien as fast as possible, which indeed we see now. Shadow player moving from Southern Vale to Dimrill Dale. Given how far it is from War Lorien, and given that the Free People player has played Elrond instead of Lady Galadriel, probably you want to try to take Lorien as quickly as possible. Um, we see also some military action from the Free People player with a military die. Mm. I mean, one option would be that you can move with a fellowship, and if Gandalf dies, you can hide the fellowship with the Strider Guide ability. But given that the Free People player can take the last action, probably you don't necessarily need to do that. You can use this military action to bring the armies from Edoras to Westernnet and also protect the Old Forest Road from the forces in the armies in Karok, the army in Karok, and then move. And at the start of the next turn, if indeed the Fellowship is revealed, just use Strider's ability. Because also an additional thing, if you try to move now and then hide, yes, you can do that, but we don't know what are the cards in the hand of the Shadow player, and we don't know if we're just gonna redirect the Witch King immediately on the Fellowship, even though I think at this point it's kind of unlikely the scenario. I think as the Shadow player would most likely just play Gothmog. But yeah, that's also something considering. So yeah, we see forces moving to Western Net and interesting, from the Shire to Tower Hills, which yeah makes sense given that three people play as Book of Mazarbor in hand. And we have Half Orcs and Goblin being played in Dimrildale. Huh. We don't see Gothmog, which is an interesting choice, and the Fellowship move again for the third time this round does not get hit, which is kind of crazy. This is probably gonna turn out as an incredible three people rush. Also, a little bit unfortunate for the three people player because we have a two keeper dice. I guess logically, Mestre James was also hoping to get hit in the third movement in order to get rid of Gandalf, in order to remove his die, and not increase the chances of getting an eye with the keeper dice. But that's not what we're going to see. And at the start of the third turn, we see for the three people player, Grimburn the Old, and also another end card, Treebird this time, with Hands Rage as a combat card effect. So what do you discard here? I can see an universe where you discard the Path of the Roses. Uh, Either Path of the Roses or one of the Ants card. I guess Ants Rage. So Treebird. But probably, given my approach to the game, I would go for Path of the Roses and see what happens. And yes, Path of the Roses gets discarded. Will the Fellowship declare? I think it makes sense. You want to get as much distance as possible from the Balrog. So yeah, yeah. I don't know if there are good reasons that Mr. James is pondering for not declaring North Forest Road, but at the moment I cannot see any of them. So okay, just for clarification, Mr. James states that the Witchwing will always follow when the Fellowship is declared, unless the Shadow player says otherwise. That's kind of a good role for the three people player because no eyes and we have extra movements, which I think at this point it's pretty much the strategy that the three people player is going for. First movement, no hits. Another reason for not keeping the master die is that, yeah, I mean, that could be kind of helpful on Lorien at this point. You should use one to bring in Galadriel and then probably use the other one to master in Lorien. But the problem of that strategy is that the Shadow player, I think, has just enough attacks of taking down Lorien this round. And one extra elite probably will not make that difference. So you don't want to defend Lorien on that side. And the dual line doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like a good target for an attack. Even if the Shadow player decide to divert his strategy and go for Dale, you can let the Shadow player take the bait, and then just as the last action with the last master result, you just play Book of Zarbul and you start to recruit from the next round. So yeah. And Rohan, you don't really need that, and for Gondor, you're already one step from war. So yeah, again, overall a good decision for the Shadow player to not keep that master. And we see Fellowship that hides after being revealed by Nazgul Search, gets cycled into another card. We remind that in LOME, when you play cards and you cycle thanks to the Witch King, you draw a card before applying the effect of the card, which is kind of different from the base version of the Witch King, where once you resolve the effect of the combat card, and once you decide what you're going to do with your battle, to advance, to retreat, to press, then you draw. Also after the downgrades effect for the siege. But in LOM, you can just draw immediately, which is kind of nice. Okay, so Mestre James passes. Yeah, Lorian gets attacked. Strategy card. Do you play a strategy card? You might consider using advantageous position, but is Lorian gonna hold? Kind of unlikely. So yes, no cards is definitely a choice. We see Debris of Orc Tank and just one hit from the Shadow player, and one hit from the Free People player. So not too bad. There's the press. Strategy card. Do you play? I think you must resist the temptation of playing Book of Mazarbul as advantageous position here, and yes, just take the hits. And here is like, yeah, it's 5 hits, so very deadly strife and wastes of 6s, yeah, and one hit back, and Logan falls very easily. And these are the first 2 military points in this first match of the final of the LOME World Championship 2024 for the Shadow player. Now Fellowship moves, gets hidden once, and it's a 1. You just take 1 point of corruption at this point, unless you really want to take Gandalf because you have Willard of the West, which of course makes sense. Yeah, it's an interesting decision because on one hand you might just put Gandalf in game now. On the other hand, that extra movement would really allow you to quite surely make it to Mordor next round. And that's something that needs to be pondered, honestly. Given the fact that you also have in hand 3 rings for the other kings, um, which allow you even to go even faster and for the fellowship, that's an interesting choice. Um, what would I do? I don't know. I don't know. A part of me would be really tempted to not kill Gandalf now and use a ring to move again and then possibly use the Will of the West to put it into play if gets hit again, which the chances are not that low, honestly, given also the reroll for the Witch King. And we see also Master James going for this direction. So we just see 1 point of corruption given to the Fellowship. And I think this is the right call. I think you want to maximize the effect, the potential effect of the 3 rings for the Elven Kings, and probably use a ring this turn and see what happens. We see the Farad armies moving to Nilfgaard and the army in Logan going south, approaching Rohan. I guess at this point you can pass or just move, doesn't really matter. At this point we're going to see a ring used, which is the Galadriel one, since Galadriel is already gone. Or the Gandalf one. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, I think, at this point of the game. And yep, the Fellowship gets it, and it's a 2, which is the perfect target for Gandalf the White, the Keeper of Narya. And at this point, we solved also the problem with the Keeper dice, and we're gonna see Gandalf the White enter the game in turn 3, which is, I mean, couldn't be better, but it's far away from being bad for the Free People player. Yep, forces from Path Celebrant moving to Fangorn and Westarondo from Nilfgaard. We see immediately Gandalf the White in Fangorn. No need to place it, as I was saying, no need to place it in Grey Aaron since Pippin, Hobbit of the Shire, covers both the Shire and Red Luin in case of both Book of Mazarbul, which the Free People has, and also Few Fire Foes. Now, I would really like to see from the shadow player Gothmog this round using one ring, or, which is probably better given the cards that you just played, probably use the ring to put in under siege Arms Deep directly this round. So you want to attack into Force or Western, probably Western at this point. Strategy card, well, at this point you try to use Scout. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I think I would take my chances to use Scout here because, yes. But Swarm of Bats, yes, that was kind of likely. Yeah, 4 hits, so all the armies in Western are gone. And 1 hit back from the 3 people player. And now we're gonna see the use of one Evergreen to put directly under siege Arms Deep. In the absence of that card, or also the Black Captain commands, I think I would have opted for playing Gothmog this round for the Shadow player. Yes, he also draws a Shadow character card thanks to the LOME Witch King. And now Arms Deep gets put under siege. Indeed. Run to War, which is kind of bad for Arms Deep because it's very weak, but the fact that the Ron is at war is a huge advantage for the 3 people players because many times, despite also the defenses that you can put in Arms Deep like usually falls in one attack, maximum 2, despite all the defenses you can carry inside. So actually, this can be an advantage for the 3 people player to create some mayhem in the Ron region with the armies in Force of Eisen, and the one we can build in Edoras and Folder to delay the military advancement for the Shadow player. Also this round we see for the 3 people player that Man of the Narrow and every little is a gain, which most likely you want to keep. What do you want to get rid of now? It's an interesting question. All of a sudden, the hands card don't look so interesting. Do you just get rid of one hand card? That Man of the Narrow, depending on what the 3 people player rolls now, can be interesting. So, I don't know. I think, statistically speaking, I would keep. I mean, those ends cards, if you're able to build a good army in both Edoras and Folder, they can be very helpful. At the same time, this is the round where 3 people players have good chances. The 3 people player has good good chances to enter Mordor. So, are you going to actually have time to build armies in Edoras and Folder? That's the question. Given that you roll 6 dice, I think you can go that route. It's not that unlikely. So probably I would discard that Man of the Narrow. But no, Book of Masarbul is gone, which is interesting choice. Okay. I mean, at the same time, the Shadow player has shown no signs or interest for going for the dual line. So, but still, advantageous position is a very cool card effect. So, I don't know. Let's see if Mestre James has some interest in separating Gandalf and Caramin, which doesn't really look like the case with this role. There are barely 2 moves to make it to Mordor unless the using one ring. unless well, no, okay. You can use 3 rings for the Elven Kings, and luckily you can get back the Aegon die, but you need to roll 2 5 or 6s. Let's see if this is going to happen. Also, sorry guys if my commenting uh, sounds a little bit chaotic. I'm just trying to go as fast as these players are going, because these are very experienced players and they take their decisions very fast. I try to calculate so many different lines, but I guess since these are the finalists of the LOME World Championship 2024, for them it's much easier. They see many more lines and faster than I can. But I'm trying to keep up and do the best as I can. But yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah, cold weather is played. So now this is interesting. There is still a chance for the 3 people player to make it to Mordor this round, but it would require to use both rings. I mean, you need first to have a very successful 3 rings for the Elven Kings for the 3 people player. And if that succeeds, you have to use both the rings for Galadriel and Elrond. Uh, which may seem an extreme line, but then at the same time, Shadow Player, how many attacks does he have this round? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6, potentially 7. So surely 5, maybe even 7. I mean, Rohan is going to fall, I think. Given also that the army in the North Ethereum may join in Rohan and help, even though that's a slightly slower approach to the military victory for the shadow player. It's a little bit more stable, but at the same time requires more action. So I don't know. There is also the possibility of bringing the okay, Captain of Despair is in play. So yeah, which is a solid card. It increases the chances of revealing the fellowship. But Ian does the action. I guess I mean, it would be interesting to see his hand, but I guess he's wondering if it's worth to push for some corruption gain, trying to delay the fellowship, or to just focus military here, because Shadow can go to 5 points this round, and if the fellowship doesn't make it to Mordor, that's a kind of a good advantage. Yeah, we see that the South Korean and Eastern are moved towards war. I was also kind of considering a line where the shadow players just try to put Dol Amroth or Minas Tirith under siege as quickly as possible. And we see indeed every little is a game being played, which probably is going to motivate the shadow player to go to Minas Tirith and Pelargir, and then Edoras. And then the question is where you take the last 2 points. But unfortunately, we don't see the shadow players' cards. But they could be also the Shire and Dale, depending on the cards that you draw. Or if in a turn the 3 people players rolls like a very bad dice, you can just go for Wooden Realm as well, which is not that unlikely. Okay, so just the Witch King, only the Witch King is moved in Old Forest Road. And we see the three people players using the ends card because most likely they're not going to be used for combat cards effect, even though, I don't know. I think they could have been interesting, given that the shadow player doesn't look to be that fast on the on the Rohan front. Oh, and we see one ring recovered for the three people players, but indeed the three people player cannot make it to Mordor this round, so that cool weather was super effective for the shadow player. Are you going to master a roll now with this result? Okay, Dolamarot gets defended by the regular placed in Labrador, which is always a good move, especially if you draw into Imre later on in the game. And the retaking of Western Net also doesn't look that bad from Forza Horizon. At the same time, though, I like keeping always one regular in the Forza Horizon because being able to force the shadow player to use one action to attack into Forza Horizon is always good in order to slow down the military progress. For sure, I would like to move an extra time this at least once this turn for the three people player. Try to make it at least 2 steps from Mordor, and then next round you should be good enough to make it. The question is how much is important to defend the Lamroth. I think it's kind of important. I would definitely move one regular inside the Lamroth. Oh, okay. Very interesting. We see the movement of yeah, the armies in Forza Horizon placed in Fangorn, which is an interesting choice. Now we see the play of Corsairs of Ambar, very sneaky from the shadow player. He was very good. He has played very well not to give away too much that he had that card in hand. Fellowship moves, gets hit. It's a 1 reveal. So you just take 1 point of corruption, I guess. And you reveal in no man's land. You might also consider to hide the fellowship with the Styler's Guide ability or do something else with that. By the way, Gondor is at war. I don't know if they noticed. I will just inform quickly Mestre James about this. Okay. A Mogul wound gets played. Ooh, 5 points of corruption. That's kind of important. That's a huge hit for the Fellowship. But if, which I think are most likely this case, if Mr. James didn't select the LOME version of Gimli, there are still 10 points of corruption worth inside the Fellowship. And so, given that the corruption now is at 5, the overall corruption is now on -5. You just have to take 2 steps to get into Mordor. There are worse scenarios in terms of corruption for the Fellowship. Now, I would also consider 100% to protect Gandalf from that army that I placed in Fangor, which is still an interesting decision that I'm trying to understand from Mestre James, because it kind of exposes Gandalf for being killed and losing 1 die. Unless you hope to draw some might attack combat card effect for the next round and possibly taking back Logan, which is a good delaying strategy. Given also that the Shadow player has no strategy card in hand right now, so you really have to be lucky for the Shadow player in the next round to draw into either Ologai or Hill Trolls, since half Goblins and half Orcs and Goblin Man has already been played. And those, I think, are the only 2 cards that might defend Logan at this point. So I think that Mr. James' decision in order to go this route for going for Gondor and Path Caravan was also informed by the fact that the Shadow player had no strategy card in hands, which makes the retaking of Logan more likely, and that can delay considerably the military advancement of the Shadow player. Let's see if this is indeed the thinking process that Mr. James has done so far. I guess we will discover in this next round of the game. And yeah, Osgiliath also gets attacked. Yeah, no hits and 2 hits back from hit, and the armies from Osgiliath are retreated in Palagir. And now in this new turn, we see we prove the Swifter and the power of Tom Bombadil for the free people player. Moving also the army from Fangorn of Park Celebrant into Park Celebrant also threatens the play of Through a Day and Night to take immediately Dol Guldur. Even though I guess that either you play it immediately now at the start of the game, but the free people player doesn't have it, or if you don't play it immediately, I think you're pretty much giving away the fact that you didn't draw into it. So probably the Shadow player can relax on that side. Either it gets played immediately, which the Shadow player cannot do anything about it at this point, or it does not get played, which is going to be the case, and then I don't think you need to worry too much about free people military victory attempts. But you need to be worried about Lorien, the potential fall of Lorien. We see what happens on that front. Okay. The players are back, 1 eye allocated, 1 more eye rolled, and yep, Aegon, that does not really help at this point. The Fellowship again will make it most likely to Mordor, but free people player will have to use 1 ring. We see 1 Gondor Elite placed in Minas Tirith from the free people player. We also see no military action for the free people player, so the retaking of Lorien is going to be kind of unlikely at this point. in a state gets attacked. And I guess that with this event action dice result, you just want to hide the fellowship and move as much as you can. I really cannot see other cards that you would really like to play right now. Yeah. Okay. Sarah, I need to place in more here. And yeah, I think this is a good defensive action for the shadow player because it most likely is going to move that elite from Moria into Lorian, which makes the retaking of Lorian much more unlikely and pretty much impossible probably at this point for the 3 people player. And I guess you need to take Elm's Deep in this turn, and then with the other army results, you start to move the army into Moria, into Lorian, and then you take the rest of Edoras, sorry, of Rohan. I guess, I mean, this is what I would do as the shadow player, but maybe Ari, according to the cards he has in hand, has different plans. I mean, he has 4 character cards for Shadow, and I mean, it's very tough to um, to avoid for the 3 people player to not get into Mordor this round. It's very tough for the Shadow player. I guess you really need to get lucky and play 2 cards like Foul Thing from the Deep or Orc Patrol or um, Nazgul Strike or Isildur's Bane, and both of them need to reveal, which I think is kind of unlikely. So otherwise, I would push military. And we see indeed that the forces from South Ithilien they merge into Gilead and from Moria to Dimrill Dale. Okay, so the taking of Helm's Deep gets and of Roll in general gets delayed a little bit. Fellowship hides. Now let's see if the Shadow players has some cards. But even if he had some cards to delay uh, the Fellowship, I think it would be better at this point to focus militarily. Because we didn't see many the highs drawn. Also, the chances of drawing a high at this point are kind of high, and you're probably wasting a card if you're playing anything like that. So, yeah, Amsdeep gets attacked at this point. No cards. No cards. That was an easy take. Amsdeep falls. No hits back. So 4 military victory points for the Shadow player. Fellowship moves. Does not get it. And yeah, I mean, at this point, the chances of getting into mod are pretty high. Um, yeah. Fellowship that, again, from the corruption point of view, is doing very, very good. And so even one more reason why, I don't know about this. Okay, well, that was a lucky draw, but again, I don't know. I think the chances of doing a zero reveal were kind of low at this point. And again, I don't know if you're really avoiding the inevitable for the Fellowship to get into Mordor. So yeah, either way, I don't think probably, I don't know. I would have not taken that call as the shadow player. Um, that could have been an extra attack, which can make the difference at this level of playing. But let's see. Okay, armies moving from Helm's Deep into Westernet, and from Dimrirdale to Lorien, so Lorien is protected. Most likely will not fall. And now Fellowship moves with the Gandalf ring. Gets hit, it's a one reveal. You just take 1 point of corruption at this point, given the yeah, you just take 1 point of corruption, I think. And then either you take a 2 or a 3, which you can take a random, and if you get an eye, it's just an eye, and whatever. Unless you're scared for candles of corpses, and you would go for a random, which, yes, it happens. Kind of risky for Strider at this point. I think, I don't know, let's see. And a Strider indeed happens. Oh my god. This is not a good one. This is definitely a not good one. And an eye gets drawn, which, yeah, doesn't really change anything. And we see Legolas, son of Thranduil. Yeah, so it's the base version as the new uh, Fellowship guide. Yeah, that one reveal random was kind of risky. I kind of see the point of Mr. James of doing that. You want to get rid of many companions as possible to avoid a potential Candle of Corpses. But then again, Candle of Corpses is just one card, and many of the numbered standard cards that reveal were already drawn. So also getting as fast as possible to Gollum doesn't make a difference at this point. I think I would have just taken 1 point of corruption at the point. I would be interested to hear also the thoughts of the players after when they watch this this review of the game. But yeah. Okay, in the new round of the game, we see for the 3 people player Elven Cloaks and Rangers of the North. Beautiful card, but probably kind of, except for the combat card effect, kind of not very useful at this point. The power of Tom Bombadil gets discarded, which makes sense. One I rolled, no more eyes rolled, and this is the roll for the 3 people player, which, okay, fairly good. We see some reinforcement in Eras straight away. This is a lot of military action for the shadow player. Which is pretty good for them, I would say. These are potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It could be also 8 military action. And yeah, I mean, I can totally see the shadow player getting in a position where he can win next round. I think it's kind of, I mean, no, maybe it's possible for them to win this round. With 8 attack, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no, they can definitely win this round. So yeah, this is interesting. Also, Mr. James must be careful. I mean, you have a help and look for, which creates a huge difference for defending Minas Tirith, but still, this can be potentially 8 attacks. So one to take Dolamrod in the best case scenario, one to take Edoras, one to take Pelagir, so 3 attacks are gone, and then you have 5 to potentially take down Minas Tirith. Okay, these are not going to be 8 attacks, but 7, and is still potentially 4 attacks to take a Minas Tirith, which again, kind of good. So we'll see what happens. Edoras gets reinforced as much as possible, which is a good choice. Yeah, I wonder why I didn't try to take as soon as possible Edoras. Yeah, now it doesn't look so plausible to get to 10 military victory points this round, unless you go for Dale, which is totally fair, but yeah, you need to use a ring, or maybe not. Let's see what is this event action dice for. Okay, Captain of Despair. So still going for the hybrid tactic for the shadow player. Makes sense. I still think they had a chance to make it this round, military speaking. It's unfortunate that we can't see the combat cards effect of the shadow player. Probably they are just terrible and they thought they could not make it. But given the situation, I mean, taking Dolamrov is not that unlikely. Taking Edoras a couple of actions ago was not that unlikely. And Pelage as well with the Arminus Gilead. And then with 4 more attacks, taking down Minas Tirith, even with a help and look for, it's not impossible. So I don't know. I think I would have pressed military, but who knows? We don't see the shadow player's end. At least we're gonna see some good use for Captain of Despair. We see the Mouth of Sauron, the LOME version, going to Minas Tirith, and some leadership redirected to Dolamroth with the Witch King and a bunch of Nazgul. Some other Nazgul going for Dolamroth. So for people will most likely now, unless you have to be careful, you have to counter your actions. I wonder if you can just wait, because at this point the shadow player has not played any red tile. Okay, the danger is, yeah, all those character dies, so at some point you must take a decision to move or not, which we see Mestre James takes. It's a true reveal, kind of perfect. You lose Legolas, you get the Boromir. A little bit unfortunate for the reveal, but okay, given the hunt pool, the majority of the hunters are reveals, so kind of makes sense. Yeah. This hard game could have been quite different with Aragorn as the guide. Strider, sorry. Yeah, just take Dolamroth at this point. Like, I don't think you can take the risk for Círdan or Imril next round. I would just go for Dolamroth, try to take it as much as quick as possible. Let's see if this is what also Ari is pondering. I don't think you're taking Edoras at this point. I think you have to really consider of retreating actually that army from Westernet into Helm's Deep, defend the points that you have captured, and most likely just take the last final victory military point in Dale. We see the Witch King being flipped, which again, it's an interesting choice. I mean, at this point, I think it makes sense because you're not winning this round militarily, so you get the chance of cycling a bunch of character cards, which is the strategy that Harry is going for. So it makes sense. DA gets attacked, but a strategy card gets cycled. So these, okay, that's interesting. And we see a desperate battle versus advantageous position. No hits. No, just one hit for the reroll and one hit from Mestre James. Most likely we're going to see the press. Okay. Strategy card gets cycled. By rule, it should, yeah, or this kind of means that it's not going to press. I'm wondering if Mestre James is gonna, yeah, press. Yeah, technically speaking, you should take this decision. You should draw the card after taking the decision of pressing. Uh, but Mestre James doesn't seem to complain about this, so I guess it's okay. Another strategy card used by the shadow player. Yeah, no cards from Mestre James. I think it makes sense. You want to hold on that help and look for. So 2 hits versus 3, but Great Host is still gonna trigger, and at this point, the Lamrot is lost. By the way, for anybody following the stream, if you have any question, you would like to make some comments, I encourage you to use the chat. I'm gonna read whatever you're writing there. So, yes. Ministry gets attack with no cards. And now, do you play no quarter? Um, I think you want to resist the temptation. Yes, indeed, Mr. James. Resist the temptation because help and look for can really change the fate of these games if played in the correct way to defend and investigate. 2 hits from Ari, 3 hits from Mr. James, which is perfect. It's very, very good for him. Very, very good. This is gonna delay military the shadow player a huge deal, a huge amount of time. Nice. This is nice for the 3 people. And there is a stop indeed. Pass from Mr. James. Now let's see what's the next action from Ari is going to be. So we see one Elven Ring, specifically the one from Gandalf, being played. By the way, Gothmog cannot be played anymore at this point of the game because the base version of the Witch King, the Black Captain, has been played. So yeah. Oh wow, we see this is kind of interesting. We see Ari using this ring to move 2 armies. So but did he kill the die? Yeah, I didn't kill the die. So he's using one character die as an army die, which kind of makes sense because there are good chances that the game is gonna end up next round. And if that's the case, yeah, you want to use all your extra military ability as much as possible. So you want to use one ring now and one ring next turn. But then again, if that was the route that Ari was taking in the first place, I don't understand why he played the Captain of Despair. maybe wanted to play it safe, wanted to go for like a double route. We will see. Anyway, Edoras gets defended, Pelagi gets defended, and the shadow player, if he's attacking Pelagi, is kind of making the game. Is kind of falling in the trap for the of the three people player because of help and look for. So most likely the shadow player is going to attack Minas Tirith before, which is happening right now. Indeed, no cards. Are you going to use no quarter now? Maybe you might consider doing at this point because, yeah, the chances of playing next round are kind of low, and now you have a full 5 attacks, and the chances of hitting an extra damage now are kind of higher. And yeah, indeed, we see 2 hits for the 3 people player and 1 hit from Ari. Is he going to press? Ah, yes, because he has the mouth, so there is a free mouth of Sauron, the LOME version, there is a free press. No cards, no cards. 2 hits, not too bad for the shadow player. And oh my god, 3 hits from 3 people. Rolling good in Gondor. It's kind of nice. But yeah, I can see the shadow player even pressing this action now. It's not. It's not pressing. Okay, well. Going into the next turn, we see 3 people player going into Dying Ironfoot Scar, which is not a get a Scar at this point. Shadow player doesn't look interested in Dale, and also Valor is probably not the best combat card effect you would like to see now. But Heroic Death with the Eagles are coming is always nice. Yeah, again, this roll is not good. This kind of looks like GG for the 3 people player. You're just not rolling that enough military action, just a bunch of Palantir. Sleep can be defended, as the shadow player at this point will probably finish taking Minas Tirith, taking Pelagir, and going for Tail, and that's it. I think this is gonna be game at this point. There are so many military actions for the shadow player. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, even probably 9. I mean, all of those dice are potential military actions. So yeah, how many do you need of them? Probably you need 1, 2, 3 to finish Gondor, and then the remaining 5 or 6 to take Dale. I think, yeah, I think this is pretty much GG. I don't see. Yeah, and well, I mean, okay, but let's think what the 3 people can do. I think for sure what's something that the 3 people is considering is to use Reprove the Swifter to move Gandalf the White inside Minas Tirith and maximize therefore the effect of Heroic Death for the defense of Minas Tirith. But even that, I mean, it's a good move, definitely, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough, honestly. There are just so many military action for the shadow player. I would definitely take that route as the 3 people player because you must tempt the impossible. But yeah, it really doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good. Even Wind from the West, probably it would be good to play right now just to discard a card from the end of the shadow player, which could really change this last turn. But Captain of Despair or even a We Shall Get It destroy even that chance for the 3 people player. You are forced to take one character card played by the shadow player on the table if there is one. So yeah, even that route doesn't look possible. And any other card in the hand of the 3 people player, it's really not that good given the circumstances. Yeah, yeah, no. I feel like that if Ari plays his cards well and with patience, he has this game. He has the first game for the LOME World Championship Final 2024. But we will see what happens. The unfortunate thing is that I wonder if Mr. James is thinking about that one reveal taken Strider randomly, because that decision has massively affected the outcome of this game. With Strider, at this point, the three people player would really have a chance to dunk the ring. It would have been like two movements the round before this one, and now with the use of a ring, you could still hope for it, but at this point, it's very hard. Yeah, we see Mestre James drawing for anything at this point. He's going to dig into the strategy card. We see Kinder Glorfindel and Elven Close gets discarded, which, yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to keep all the other cards. They have some relevance, military speaking, for combat cards effects. So yeah, you would like to hold onto those, and very cleverly, Ari is moving directly to Dale. You don't want to give the possibility for the free people player to play something like King Brandsman, so you want to take that military victory point as soon as possible, and you're also reinforcing Minas State, so good move here from Harry. Um, yeah, I mean, this is a tough spot for the free people player. Even if you bring one elite and one captain of the elves from Woodland Realm to Dale, it doesn't really look that good. I mean, you kind of have to do that to tempt the impossible again, but mm, let's see what happens. But doesn't look good at all. Minas Tirith gets attacked thanks to the Mouth ability. Uh, Takes also the free extra press. So yeah, no cards. Okay. Um, no cards as well for Mr. James. Well, yeah, those are the two hits. So Minas Tirith is gone and one hit back. So yeah, I mean, you just need to take Pelagia and Dale, and you have one, two, three, four, five, six military actions for sure. Maybe even seven. I don't know if he has something like Black Captain commands in hand, but it's definitely. I mean, I think this game is kind of over at this point. Let's see what happens. Um, you can still move Gandalf to Pelagir or Dale. One, two. But you cannot make it to there with. Ah, wait. We proved the sister is six moves. So yes, you can move Gandalf the White to Dale. That that could make potential a difference, but I don't know. It looks kind of desperate even in that case. It looks very, 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 very difficult. So I guess the question now is like, where do you move Gandalf as the free people player? You move it in Pelagir or Dale? And I don't know. I guess it looks rough either way. Okay, the army in the Velo cannon gets reinforced, and yeah, we see the movement from Minas Tirith to Skiliath. Yeah, this is just rough. This is a rough last turn, most likely. Okay, one game is played. Are you going? Yeah, you do the impossible, to do whatever you can. You master in Palagir. Um, yeah, but you also don't have any leader role in Palagir. It's just I don't know. Yeah, very very tough. You might also consider as the shadow player to just combine forces into fold and take from Osgiliath and Westernet into fold and just take Edoras. That's also another possibility. I mean, there are so many ways for Shadow to win this game. Um, I still think it makes more sense to just go for Pelagia. It doesn't make any sense to go for Edoras, but yeah. Okay, Pelagia gets attacked. So it's Swarm of Paths versus Valor. Yeah. And okay, well, that's 3 eats, so yeah, I mean, okay, yes. Okay, it's pretty much over. 2 eats back, which is something. Yeah, I guess at this point you want to press as Shadow. By the way, it's attacking from Lamedon. Okay, that's an interesting thing. So would you like to press from Lamedon? I thought he was attacking from Osgiliath. Can be shady. You must be careful now as Shadow. Don't do anything rushy at this point. You might lose, but you cannot even lose Dolamroth. I mean, yes, okay, no, never mind. You cannot even lose Dolamroth. So advantageous position versus Dead in Spare. So yes, if you have Dead in Spare, for sure you want to press. For Fate 3, yeah, it's 1 hit. And yeah, and it's 1 hit back. You keep pressing at this point. I mean, you just have so many attacks. Yeah, why not? Even even if the free people player tries, they cannot. The free people player cannot even try to take back Pelagia from Lost Ark. I mean, the rings are just gone. Why stopping? I don't understand this one. Like, just press, finish it. Even if the Witch King dies at this point, you can just take it from Osgiliath and Pelagia. It's just over. Okay, Dale gets attacked. Strategica, at this point you have to use heroic death, I guess. Unless I don't know why didn't play We Prove the Swifter earlier. Mr. James, this is something is gonna be interesting to ask him after the game. I think those 3 extra hits. I mean, it's a desperate measure, but at least you're defending a little bit more Dale Pelagir. But okay, so it's 1 hit for 1 hit. Yeah, because there is also Great Host. So yes, there is press, no card. Yeah, probably. Yeah. What about leaving? If you live in Woodland Realm, you may attack back with the character result. Also, if you send the Gandalf in Woodland Realm, you have an extra reroll. Still, you are 1806. Hmm. Not very ideal. Yeah, there is the stay, two hits from Ari, no hits from Mestre James, and then falls. And at this point, is yeah, I mean, pretty much GG. One last military victory point to finish this game. We proved the swifter to Pelagi at this point, I can imagine. Yes, but yeah, with those so many attacks, there's three attacks left. I think it's over. Let's see what's going to happen. I think you attack from Osgiliath at this point. Yeah. Shine, yes, of course, but still there is the reroll of the mouth of Sauron, so yeah. No cards. No cards. I think you still roll too many, just one, yes. Two hits back. At this point, you pass. Yes, and you stay, indeed, and see. Two hits. GG, well played. Yeah, that's it. It's over. The first match for the LOME World Championship Final 2024 ends in a shadow military victory for Ari that gets the first win. And yeah, luck has been kind of brutal towards the three people player. Also, well played for Ari as well, because luck means nothing if you don't know what you're doing. So, totally deserved win at the same time. Uh, yeah, yeah. The players are commenting that random on Strider for one reveal that I feel like really decided the fate of this game. It would have been a Ari actually had candles, so interesting. Uh, yeah, and I got tile. So yeah, this has been the first game. I'm gonna upload my comment on YouTube for the people who couldn't watch the stream, so they can catch up on the development of this final for the LOME World Championship 2024. Uh, Congratulations to the player again, and we hope to see them in the next match. And let's hope for some more tension. This game was kind of uh, not very interactive and also a little bit one-sided in the lag, which happens. It's normal. It's War of the Ring. But let's hope for a more exciting game in the next one. Thanks a lot for having followed us, and we see each other in the next time. Bye bye.